Aloha and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for watching This Is Now. We begin with this new at noon. The man accused of burning a Maryknoll teacher with a chemical liquid near Ala Moana made his initial appearance in court today.
And we're also learning new details into the egregious attack that left the victim with critical burns. In new court documents released Monday, we've learned the toxic liquid thrown on the victim also made it into her mouth, her throat, and lungs. She's since been identified as 25-year-old Danying Zhang. The documents say after she ran inside Planet Fitness for help, emergency personnel arrived and she was taken to a hospital and intubated due to the severity of her burns. The suspect, 29-year-old Sebastian McQuan, has been charged with attempted murder and assault. Police believe last week Tuesday's attack was random. Doctors noted that Zhang's injuries compromised her airways, large areas of her face, body, and legs, and she will have permanent disfigurement. The U.S.-China People's Friendship Association says they're one of Zhang's sponsors. The group says she remains in the hospital.
She is very upbeat, and optimistic. She feels that she's going to get better.
Especially in the asset attack. It's one of the worst attacked. It needs a long-term recovery process.
Police also say they've had several encounters with McQuan in recent years and knew he resided in the Iwilei area. He was arrested 2 days after the attack. Meanwhile, a GoFundMe has been set up to support the victim's recovery and has already surpassed its original goal of $100,000. You can find a link to donate on our website, hawaiinewsnow.com.
A 21-year-old man has been charged in connection with a deadly West Oahu drive-by shooting. Corey Farinas is accused of firing toward a group in another car near Waianae Long's Drugs on January 20th. An innocent bystander sitting in his front yard was hit by a stray bullet and was killed. Farinas is now charged with second-degree murder along with multiple counts of attempted murder and weapons violations. His bail was set at $5 million. A 16-year-old girl says she was able to escape a kidnapper after she was abducted Friday from Mililani Town Center. Sources tell us the teenager told officers she was held captive in a van overnight at Patsy Mink Park before she was able to escape the following morning. We reached out to HPD for a description of the suspect. We're waiting to hear back.
The Kauai Police Department is addressing community concerns after social media posts allege of an attempted kidnapping near a Kapa'a school. KPD says there have been no official reports made, but the department wants to remind schools and family to discuss student safety with their children. Back here on Oahu, the strike is over for now for the nurses at Kapi'olani Medical Center. They went back to work today, but no deal has been reached. The strike lasted for a week. The nurses picketed for better staffing and working conditions. Meanwhile, Hawaii Pacific Health hired traveling nurses to ensure there was no disruption of care during the strike. 96% of nurses at the Kapi'olani Medical Center for Women and Children voted to authorize that strike. 600 nurses have been without a contract since the end of November. The union and the hospital differ on the appropriate nurse-to-patient ratio. They're scheduled to resume negotiations this Wednesday.
This past week during the strike, we provided uninterrupted care as we have in the past and will going forward. We actually had over 130 surgeries that we performed, over 100 babies were born, and we had 9 critical care transports. Now that our nurses are back here at the medical center, we will continue to move forward with them.
The Hawaii Nurses Association president said in a statement that the nurses appreciate the outpouring of support and will continue to negotiate for better quality of care with safe nurse-to-patient ratios. Negotiations once again are set to resume on Wednesday.
With the 2024 presidential election a little more than 9 months away, a controversial bill would remove former President Donald Trump from Hawaii's ballot. Eddie Dowd has a reaction from both sides.
The Hawaii state senator that is introducing this bill says if it's passed, it could possibly remove the former president from the general election ballot in November here in the Aloha State. Now, news of that possibility is already reaching across the ocean, making national waves.
From 30 Rockefeller Plaza here in New York City, it's The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon.
Yeah, in Hawaii, Trump could be banned from the ballot. One Hawaiian resident heard and was like, that's a damn shame. It's pretty controversial.
Political analyst Colin Moore says he believes the bill introduced at the Hawaii State Legislature has a chance of passing.
The Hawaii State Legislature is dominated by Democrats. I think Democrats are very concerned about what could happen if President Trump wins re-election.
Colin, for some people looking at this bill, they might be confused because it doesn't actually state the former president being removed from the ballot.
That's right. He's not included in this bill. But what it does is it sets up a process where anyone who possibly violated the insurrection clause of the Constitution then could be excluded from Hawaii's ballot after a court review. There are many people who believe that President Trump did violate this insurrection clause during the January 6th attack on the Capitol.
State Senator Carl Rhodes introduced the legislation.
There's no question he's who I had in mind when I introduced it, but it does apply beyond him and into future years. It's not just Trump.
You must have known you might get backlash for this bill.
Oh yeah, no, the opponents are personal and obnoxious, and I haven't actually gotten a death threat, but sort of right up to a death threat.
We asked Hawaii residents what their thoughts are.
I think people should have the chance to vote and decide on their own.
I mean, I'm for it. I think that he should be removed from the ballot, and I hope that it passes.
I have my own opinions, but I do not want to make my own mom angry.
I do not support Donald Trump at all in any way, but I'm not too sure about taking him off the ballot.
This comes after Colorado and Maine made similar efforts to remove former President Donald Trump from the ballot. The case expected to be ruled on by the U.S. Supreme Court. Meantime, Hawaii's Republican Party is pushing back against the proposal.
It's a very concerning bill where we don't want to set a precedence, first of all. Second of all, but which is more important, is the concern of taking away the freedom of choice from the citizens of Hawaii and the United States.
Some Hawaii Republicans argue Trump's popularity in the state has grown over the years. In 2020, the state reported nearly 200,000 people voted for the former president. That's up from when he was on the ballot in 2016. Cheryl Beeler helped organize dozens of rallies for him in 2020.
Because that's the man that's going to save this country. Because that is the best president that this country has ever had.
Now, if the bill is passed in the state legislature, it will go to the governor's desk, who is a Democrat. We reached out to his office to see if he would allow the bill to go through or if he would veto it. They said it's too early for them to comment on that. Reporting in Honolulu, Eddie Dowd, Hawaii News Now.
President Biden promises to respond to the drone attack in Jordan on Sunday that killed 3 U.S. service members and injured more than 24 others. Now, this is the first deadly attack on U.S. troops in the Middle East since the war in Gaza began. Skylar Henry has the latest.
President Biden met with members of his national security team again on Monday as he weighs options following the deadly ambush on American troops in Jordan.
We do not seek another war. We do not seek to escalate. But we will absolutely do what is required to protect ourselves.
3 U.S. service members were killed Sunday when a drone struck a logistical support base in Jordan near the Syrian border, at a time when soldiers were likely sleeping.
The names of those soldiers who lost their lives were Sergeant William Rivers, Specialist Kennedy Sanders, and Specialist Breonna Moffett. These 3 fallen heroes were deployed to Jordan in support of Operation Inherent Resolve and the international coalition working to ensure the lasting defeat of ISIS.
CBS News has learned initial reports show the enemy drone was approaching at the same time an American one was returning, meaning air defenses were temporarily disabled. The White House blames Iranian-backed rebels for carrying out the strike. While Tehran has denied any involvement, President Biden is coming under pressure from some Republicans to attack Iran directly. The president has been reluctant to take that step, fearing it could plunge the crisis-riddled Middle East into a wider conflict.
We will not tolerate continued attacks on American forces, and we will take all necessary actions to defend U.S. military men and women forward deployed. And we will do so at a time and place of our choosing.
Since the start of the Israel-Hamas war in October, U.S. military sites in Iraq and Syria have been attacked more than 160 times. Skyler Henry, CBS News, the White House.
The South Carolina jury that convicted Alex Murdaugh in the 2021 murders of his wife Maggie and son Paul have been summoned back to the courtroom once again. Now his defense team is accusing the county clerk of improperly influencing the jury during the trial last March. Nikki Batiste reports from Columbia, South Carolina.
Alec Murdaugh walked into court today in his orange jumpsuit, shackled. He sat during the testimony, listening attentively but looking fairly calm. All 12 jurors have completed their testimony here. 2 of those jurors say they did hear Colleton County Court Clerk Rebecca Hill talk about Alec Murdaugh specifically on the day he testified, saying, "Watch his body language." One juror is critical. She said today on the stand that she heard those comments and that it did influence her decision. What this will really come down to, whether or not Alec Murdaugh gets a new murder trial, solely comes down to how this judge interprets the law. I'm Nikki Batiste for CBS News in Columbia, South Carolina.
A new report from the Justice Department found that hate crimes at schools are on the rise. The number more than doubled from 500 in 2020 to more than 1,300 in 2022. Of all the hate crimes in the U.S. in 2022, 10% occurred at schools, making it the 3rd most common location for them. The most common spots are on the street or in a home. According to the report, most offenses involve intimidation, vandalism, and simple assault. And they're mostly motivated by anti-Black bias, followed by anti-Semitism and anti-LGBTQ bias. This is the first time the FBI and Justice Department released a report on hate crimes at schools. The educational institutions range from elementary schools to universities.
The man who confessed to stealing an iconic piece of movie history won't be serving time behind bars. 76-year-old Terry John Martin confessed to stealing the ruby red slippers worn in The Wizard of Oz. At his sentencing hearing on Monday, he was given no prison time. Martin, who is in poor health, confessed to stealing the famous footwear, saying he wanted to pull off one last score. Martin stole the slippers in 2005 from the Judy Garland Museum in Minnesota. The FBI recovered the shoes in 2018 when someone else tried to claim a reward. Martin wasn't charged with stealing them until last year. He pleaded guilty in October to theft of a major artwork. According to his attorneys, Martin had no idea about the cultural significance of the ruby slippers and has never even seen The Wizard of Oz.
Community members gathered to celebrate the life of former Hawaii County Mayor Billy Kenoi. The event took place Saturday at Edith Kanakaole Stadium in Hilo. The 52-year-old died back in 2021 after a lengthy battle with cancer. Loved ones described him as a phenomenal leader and inspiration.
I am so happy that, his legacy lives on, that people remembers what he's done and then to his community and his state of Hawaii, which he loved so much.
Anytime I miss him, I just look up a speech or something and just feel like he's talking to me, because that's what he did for everyone.
Governor Josh Green ordered flags to fly at half-staff on Saturday.
A new proposed bill could see Hawaii public school students get free meals. House Bill 1540 would require schools to participate in the community eligibility provision, which provides federal funds to help schools offer free meals to all students. The bill would also use state funds to cover the difference between federal meal assistance and the actual cost of free meals. Turning to the weather now, throughout some parts of the state, it was a rainy start to the work week. Our Billy V joins us now with an updated forecast. Aloha, Billy.
Thank you very much, Sean. This is Aloha Monday. Let's go ahead and give you your breakdown of your first alert weather headlines. First of all, that front arrives today. What we saw this morning and overnight was prefrontal moisture for Kauai and Oahu. And once again, it's going to reach Kauai here in the midday. That front is pulling up some strong Kona winds. Those are south-southwesterly winds. They're pulling them up, and we'll talk about this coming up in just a couple of moments. Also, another front is on the way Friday, going into Saturday and Sunday. Strong trade winds and big surf. Let's talk about the surf numbers for today. We've got, it's going to be getting bigger, 10 to 14 feet as we go throughout the day today, 18 to 22 feet by tomorrow. So once again, could be advisory levels. We're watching that 7 to 10 on the west side, 12 to 16 by tomorrow. Here's your prefrontal moisture as it begins coming through the islands. But let me show you something real quickly here. The winds for Kauai and Oahu and Maui, they're going to be really strong. They're coming from an unusual direction, south-southwesterly winds. So as these winds come up and they go over the Ko'olau and down on the windward side, down on the north shore, those wind gusts are going to pick up to maybe in some places on Kauai that's going to be 40 miles per hour, on Maui and possibly 50 miles per hour today. So we're watching those wind speeds as those showers, sometimes heavy at times, are coming over from the south-facing shoreline. So with those damaging winds, here's your forecast for today. Showers, gusty winds for Kauai. Oahu will see showers likely, and then of course as we get into partly cloudy skies for Maui County, Hawaii Island, pretty much going to miss out on the moisture today. They're going to have mostly sunny skies. It's actually going to be really nice weather for Hawaii Island. So now let's put that into the 7-day forecast. Today, south-southwesterly winds 15 to 25 mile per hour plus, could be gusts up to 40 to 50 miles per hour in some places. Tomorrow, as we get into Wednesday and Thursday, the winds will go light because it'll be after that cold front comes through. Coming up on Friday, secondary front. So that means that there's going to be right now, or excuse me, coming up on Saturday, Sunday, trade winds strong 20 to 30 miles per hour with possible 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. That's why we put Saturday and Sunday highlighted in red. This is potentially damaging winds, and so we want you to make sure that you know about this here at Hawaii's exclusive First Alert weather station. Once again, all of this you can find out more information online on your mobile device and at hawaiinewsnow.com.
Thank you so much, Billy. Let's take a live look outside now at Kansas City, Missouri. Lots of excitement there as the Chiefs are Super Bowl bound.
Yes, football.
56 degrees over there. We're going to have more headlines coming up after this quick break.
A new study from AAA is revealing the dangers roadside workers face every day. Researchers say speed, impairment, and distractions are 3 key factors behind many of the crashes. We're joined by Mike Valerio, who has more on the story.
Well, Emily, aloha. So this is what we're looking at here. You know, there is government data that shows the number of people who are tragically killed when they're just trying to help us fix our cars on the side of the road. AAA's research arm looked at that data, and they're revealing today that the numbers of deaths are actually about 4 times higher than we thought before. That's why today AAA is sounding the alarm.
It's a worrisome reality for roadside assistance providers.
For those that are working on the side of the road, rescuing stranded motorists, providing valuable service to all motorists, it really is a very risky enterprise.
A new study by the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety reveals 123 tow truck drivers, mobile mechanics, emergency roadside technicians, and safety service patrols were fatally struck on the job from 2015 to 2021, nearly 4 times government estimates. The data also shows the vast majority of the fatal crashes occurred in areas where the speed limit was 55 miles an hour or higher and in good weather without slippery conditions. And while nearly 2/3 occurred in darkness, a notable 34% of crashes happened in broad daylight.
In nearly 2/3 of the crashes, the vehicle that was involved in the crash had already started to depart their lane. And so this really speaks to factors such as distraction, fatigue, impairment as being involved in these sorts of crashes.
Tracking the statistics is difficult, according to AAA's William Horry. Many of these occupational fatalities are unspecified in crash reports or recorded as pedestrian deaths. Having the right data, he says, is critical to improving worker safety. But more importantly, Horry notes, it's incumbent upon drivers to take care on the roads.
We really need motorists to slow down, move over. Even a few feet of spacing can mean the difference between life and death for some of these operators.
So, Emily, you know, we spent a few seconds in the piece you just watched on this topic, but this exact statistic stood out for me. So for these crashes, 84% of them happened in beautiful, perfect weather. So we're talking about here in the mainland, no ice, no sleet, no snow, no rain if we're looking at crashes on Hawaii and any of the islands. So it's going to show that this data is suggesting that this seems to be a driver problem as we are distracted by more and more things behind the wheel, Emily.
Yes, and Mike, you know, bottom line, more people are likely being killed who help us on the side of the road. And it's an issue worse than we've previously known. Can you dive deeper into the data and explain why the alarm is being sounded now?
Researchers from the traffic safety arm of AAA, they, said, we think that more of these crashes are happening. So they looked at 6 years of data. According to national statistics, there were about 34 deaths over 6 years. AAA fine combs through the data and finds at least 123 deaths after going through the crash reports a little more carefully. So they're saying today is the day that this study is coming out. This problem needs to be addressed, and how can it be addressed if the extent of it isn't exactly known? I mean, they're saying that their review shows that the problem is so much worse than we've known before. So they're just hoping to highlight the issue in addition to the usual slow down, but telling people that human lives are at stake here. And again, this problem seems to be getting worse year after year, Emily.
Got it. Thank you so much for your reporting, Mike.
No problem. Mahalo.
Next time on Investigate TV Plus, mail carriers at the center of violent encounters.
What's behind the rise in robberies and how you can protect your mail and your money.
Now to a heartwarming story out of Massachusetts about a woman who put a message in a bottle, tossed it into the ocean, and actually got a response. Mike Sullivan has the story.
In an ocean full of mystery, it almost seems like anything can wash ashore, even a memory. Jody Lynn Thomas just never thought that memory would be hers.
Some days I wake up and it still doesn't feel real.
For years, Tommy Thomas manned a pilot boat in New Bedford. His vessel ushered in bigger boats through a canal. For that, some called him Captain. Jody Lynn always called him Dad.
He was my first love, of course, even though I do love my husband now.
In his 40s, Thomas had a heart attack.
He ended up having an LVAD the last 5 years of his life, so he had to give up piloting.
Instead, he got lost in books about pirates and shipwrecks. He loved the ocean right up until his last breath in 2021.
That's how he passed. His heart stopped.
He asked his daughter to take his boat out one last time to a place she could see him from her home window.
I did a message in the bottle there, but I put some sand in it so it sank to the bottom.
A year later, they spread his ashes in Provincetown. Once again, she tossed a message into the ocean. Only this time, she watched it float away.
Maybe you'll end up in Portugal, who knows?
That bottle didn't make it to Portugal. It made it to France.
I was walking the last January 3 on the Vendais Montalivet beach in Gironde, Nouvelle-Aquitaine, near my holiday home, when I saw a bottle washed up on the sand.
John Rochaud is a teacher in France.
The bottle had been strongly sealed with the help of paraffin, which kept the letter intact on its 6,000-kilometer journey across the ocean.
Using context clues and social media, he found Jodi's memorial page to her father.
I wonder if she was really expecting a reply.
When he called, Jodi thought it was a scam.
He sends me a picture of the bottle. I had to pull over. I said, all right, this is legit.
John took the letter to his students to use it for a geography lesson. Jodi took the letter as a sign.
Hey, kid, I'm watching you. For sure.
Beautiful. It's amazing how things work out sometimes in life.
Sweet.
Yeah. We thank you all so much for tuning in to today's episode of This Is Now. Let's send you live outside for one more look, this time over beautiful Honolulu. Have a great day, everyone.
Aloha.